Hello, this is Temisha with Educational Tutoring Centers with a work problem. And in this particular work problem, we have two people that's going to do a job. And two people working together should take less time than it takes each person to do individually. Now in this problem it says that Rosa takes twice as long to do a job by herself than it takes her and Miguel to do the job together. And it says, but it takes Miguel 2 hours longer to do the job by himself than it takes them working together. Now the question ultimately is asking, how long does it take each of them to do the job alone? So what I've done is I set up a little chart here to see if it can help us organize our work so that we can do this problem. So here, Rosa's total time, which we don't know, but we know that it's 2 times the total time that it takes them to do the work together. And Miguel is 2 hours longer, which means we would be adding them. And the time that it takes for them both to do is not given to us and we don't know, so that is where our variable x comes from. Okay? Now, the thing that we will use to help us to solve for this is to see what it would take for 1 unit of time. So say, for example, it took Rosa 10 hours. Well, 1 unit of time would be 1 over 10. And for Miguel, it would be 1 over whatever amount of time that it takes for him. And for both, it would be the 1 over x. So let's go ahead and get this problem set up. So for 1 unit of time, for them both to do it, it would be 1 unit out of whatever the total is. Okay? And for Miguel, it will be 1 over his total amount of time. And for Rosa, same thing. Okay, now we want to solve for, our goal is to solve for how long it will take each of them to do the job alone. And the way we're going to do that is to solve for x and then substitute values in. So for Rosa, we have 1 over 2x plus Miguel is 1 over x plus 2. And together, their time together is what it takes for them both to get the job done. Okay? So what we have is 2 rational expressions or 2 fractions set equal to some total amount. And just like in elementary school when we learned how to, or middle school when we learned how to add fractions, we found that we needed to find a common denominator. And so in these rational expressions, we have 3 different denominators, and so we are going to multiply them by each other in order to identify a common denominator. So this fraction will be multiplied by that common denominator, this fraction will be multiplied by the common denominator, and this fraction will be multiplied by the common denominator, so that we can add them all together. So the common denominator is going to be 2x times x times the x plus 2. And we have to do that exact same thing to each of the fractions. And I'm kind of writing this out longhand so that you can see my steps. Okay, so with this first fraction, if I'm multiplying 1 over 2x by this these 3 factors, the 2x in the denominator would cancel with this 2x here. So we just simply have this times 1. So x times x is x squared, and x times 2 is 2x. And there's a plus sign between them. So if we were multiplying that by 1, it just still gives us that same expression. Then I'm bringing down my plus sign. And here I have x plus 2 in the denominator. It will cancel with this x plus 2 in the numerator. And so I'm just multiplying these two by each other and then by this 1, but multiplying by 1 doesn't change the number. So 2x times x is 2x squared. Okay, bring down my equal. And here, this x in the numerator will cancel with this x here. That's in the, this is the denominator, and will cancel with this x that's in the numerator. And again, there's a 1, so it's not going to change any multiplier, but we have to multiply this 2x times this x plus 2. So we will be distributing just like on the other. And so we have 2x squared, and then 2x times the 2 is plus 4x. Now our goal is to solve for x, so let's see what we can come up with. Here on the left side of the equation we have x squared plus 2x squared, so that makes 3x squares plus 2x, and then that equals 2x squared. I'm just simply bringing this down. And then when I move this over through the opposite operation, I'm going to take this with me at the same time through the opposite operation. So subtract 4x. Here I'm going to subtract 2x squared from here, and I'm going to subtract 4x here. Okay, so let me tell you what I did here. After I went through and I did all of that, I come up with this line here, and then I wanted to, my ultimate goal is to get x by itself, so I moved all my x terms over to the left because I always need my variable on one side and any constants on the other. Well, there are no constants other than 0. So when I moved the 2x squared, I did it through subtraction, so I subtracted from a variable term that looks like it, which is x squared. So that left me with 3x squared minus 2x squared is 1x squared, so that's what this is here. And then move this 4x by subtracting. So I had 2x's and I'm trying to take away 4x's, so I'm short. So short 2x's, so minus 2x. And then after all of this is gone on the right side, I just have 0. And then in order to solve for x, I had to factor x out of these two expressions. And so that put an x here. And it left inside of the parentheses x minus 2. And if you're not sure about what's left, you go ahead and just redistribute. X times x is this x squared, and x times 2 is this 2x, and there's a minus sign between. Then you take your x values and set them equal to 0. And solve for x here, I will get a 2. Okay, so these are our two possible solutions. We know that this is not a real solution because if we substitute a 0 in here, it puts 0 in the denominator, which is not, it creates infinity. If you put it in your calculator, it'll say error. So that is not a possible solution. In fractions, we do not want 0 in the denominator. So this is our solution here, that for x, it's 2 hours for them both to do the work. So for Miguel, it will be 2 plus 2, which is equal 4. So Miguel takes 4 hours. And Rosa, we substitute the 2 in here in place of her x, and so it's 2 times 2, which means 4. Okay? So that is it for that problem. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and to subscribe.